this morning, we're not having a health conversation. We're having a political conversation in terms of manifestos and moving forward into the future. The Deputy National Chair Programs of the United Democratic Alliance Party is who you are here as this morning. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you.
All right. So yes, we've heard of you, and we know of you in the health sector previously. Then when it comes to delivering healthcare, so on that note, we're going to say keep up the good work that you continue. And now on the political field, we want to find out what is this work that you're doing. The United Democratic Alliance Party is obviously making a gun for top seats and many seats around the country. And then there are many questions then in terms of programs and what these promises and how they will be delivered to the people are running amok. So these are the conversations that we'll be having this morning. So karibu sana to the hot seat and as we jump into things this morning. So going the political way for you, SETH, how did that change or how did that inclusion into what you do come about?
Traditionally, trade unionism has played a major role in political movements across the world. Even in Kenya, there's a time when politicians were all sent to prison, I think in 1952, when there was that state of emergency, and Jomo Kenyatta and his group were taken to prison. The people who filled that void was the trade unionism. And when you look at the history of this country, all the politicians who were there before came from the trade union movement. Even our founding father was the one who founded the what we used to call, now it's called the County Government Workers Union, but used to be called the Local Government Workers Union. That is Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. When you look at people like Francis Lubembe, you look at people like Tom Mboya, all of them came from the trade union movement. So the trade union movement forms a green pasture for very successful trade union politicians in this country and indeed across the world. So we trade unionism is just another form of politics, but this is the politics of improving the welfare of the members, as opposed to the politics of improving the welfare of the nation. Of course, when you improve the welfare of the workers, we generally improve the welfare of the nation. So these things walk hand in hand. There's no major shift from what I do in the trade union movement to what I do in the politics.
So you're not in virgin territory here, from what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. So now you being the Deputy National Chair Programs, what exactly does one do?
Clearly, I'm a member of the National Executive Council, and therefore any program that has to be undertaken by the party has to be brought to our committee. We are a number of us. There are those who are the Deputy Secretary General programs. We have the Deputy Chairman programs, and we have in every office. Like the treasurer, we have the one in charge of programs. So we have a committee that is composed of all these people, the vice chairs and the vice secretaries and the vice treasurers in charge of programs. So we form a committee that come together and look at the programs of the party before those programs are rolled out. So that is basically what we do. And we also sit in the main National Executive Council of the party to articulate the issues of the programs of the party and the agenda of the party before it goes outside of the public, and we start articulating it.
Okay. So then when we're looking at issues manifesto, essentially the manifesto is the vehicle that delivers these many promises that we are seeing being made around the country. The manifesto is now what is essentially what you're going to put down in hard and fast, evidence that these things will actually be done. So far, so good?
Yes.
So you being here, then we're talking to the right person when we're asking the question. Step away from the car rooftop promises. Now, in concrete deliverables, SETH now is one of the right people that we should be speaking to. Yes?
Of course, yes.
Okay. I just want to be sure so that now when CT asks his next question, then we can be sure that it has landed at the feet of the right person.
Yes.
So now when we're talking about issues manifesto for UDA, obviously we've not seen the national announcement of it yet. There've been, we've been given a date. I believe it was the 30th of June that we will be told as a nation exactly what is going to happen. But we've heard certain things that have come out that Kenyans then can, look forward to, should we say, should the UDA sit in government from presidential downwards? What are some of these things? We know what we've heard, but coming from your side, what are some of these things?
I think I do not want first to preempt what we are going to lay out to the public, because we have not yet come up with our agenda or our manifesto to the public the way our competitors have done. We're still working on it. But what is in the minds of everybody, we know that our agenda rotates around the bottom-up economic model that we stand for as UDA. So the bottom-up economic model is what we stand for, and our manifesto or the agenda for this country will rotate around the bottom-up economic model, where we want to lift up those who are down here and move with them slowly as we go up. And we maintain those who are up. It doesn't mean that we want to bring down those who are up. Yeah. Those who are up there must continue to produce, so that they produce taxes. And those taxes are the ones that we're going to use to uplift those who are down there.
If you were to define the bottom-up approach in a statement or two, how would you define it?
The bottom-up economic model is the one that takes into account the need of the downtrodden people. When, for example, we are looking at the budget of the country, we are supposed to put in what the common man tells you on the ground. For example, we have been looking at trickle-down economic model, where the people in Nairobi decide that this is what we want. We are going to look at let us make the manufacturers comfortable up here so that it can trickle down. But we are saying, no, look here, we want to be told what does that Wanjiku on the ground want. Wanjiku will tell you, I want water here. Wanjiku is not going to tell you that I want maybe a company in Nairobi, I want to do. He wants water. That if Wanjiku wants water there, we must now start planning from the ground. How is this Wanjiku going to get water here? Wanjiku wants a road somewhere. He's going to tell you, I want road. He will tell you, my children have gone to university, they have no education. How are we going to provide jobs for these jobless young people? This must come from the people themselves. And as they tell you that, they should be able also to tell you, this is how we think as Kenyans it should be done. Initially it has been with the leaders of the others, but we in UDA were saying, even that mama in the village who has not gone to school has a say on how he thinks the problems we have can be resolved.
So, do I understand you to be saying that with your bottom-up approach, you want to initiate economic programs through financial means to ensure that individuals within this country who are, should we say, low-income earners get to earn a better income? A large number of people who are unemployed get to find employment or be employed, so that they can also contribute to the pool of monies that we refer to as revenue to the economy. Is that what you're trying to say?
Of course, when we have many people
Yes.
in gainful employment, it doesn't mean necessarily employment. In my own understanding, is not necessarily being in a formal employment where you get salary at the end of the month. No. Employment is having an engagement that gives you an income, whether on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. But you are able as a Kenyan citizen first to make sure your family has the basics it requires. We have people in this country who can't even afford a meal. I'm a politician and I'm vying for a parliamentary seat in Malala. And I can tell you every morning, I get people come to my home to greet me. And when they tell you the problem they have, you realize we have a problem in this country. Almost 95% of people out there have no means of survival. Right now in the village at home, I get requests for school fees, almost 200 in a day. I ask them, how am I going to do this? There is a bigger problem out there. Unless people here in Nairobi don't go in the village. But when you're in the village, you can see clearly the problem. So when we have more people in gainful engagement, where they are making a living, the end return will be they will be able to pay taxes. And when they pay taxes, the country will be able to stand on its own, will be able to stop this appetite for getting very expensive loans that are making our life in Kenya very difficult, because even when you look at the cost of living, is going up each and every day. We are having like the cost of fuel today is reaching levels which are unmanageable. And in return, when you have the cost of fuel up, you have the cost of electricity up, the cost of production goes up, then everything goes up. And then at the end of the day, there's the limit, what we call the limit of elasticity. We will reach the limit and this country will collapse. And how is it going to collapse? We will have everybody, many of the young people out there, many of the people out there without employment. So if you are alone in the village and you have the food and you have everything, and we have about 100 people surrounding you who have nothing, I can assure you, you will end up all of you having nothing.
I mean, it's spirited,
Yes.
what you're saying, Seth, and it makes sense when we talk about the fact that we cannot have people to continue living like this, those requests that you see on a daily basis. But then hearing what somebody wants to do to fix it is great. And I think one of the questions that we ask, almost sounding like a broken record level in this room, is how will this be done? The bottom-up economic approach, it sounds great. It really does. That you're going to be able to put more money in the hands of people, that you're going to create employment. But you know what? We're living in the same country. I want to assume that the Kenya that we're living in today will be the same Kenya that we're living in come the 10th of August, when the ballot has been cast. So if we're talking about creating employment for more Kenyans, where are a very simple question in black and white, where are these added jobs going to come from? If we're talking about putting more money in the hands of the person who is asking you for school fees in Malala constituency on a daily basis, where is this money coming from? Very simply, where is it coming from?
When we have been, in the United Democratic Alliance Party, we believe in listening to the people, because that is what's going to inform our agenda when we do our manifesto at the end of the day. We realize that Kenya has got a lot of potential. I can tell you that Kenya can produce her own eatable oils, which can give in the economy over 150 billion. And Western Kenya alone is able to produce oils through Simsim cultivation. And that
you know this from studies that have been
done? We know this when we are doing Western economic forums through our United Democratic Party. We realized that we have the potential to produce edible oils in this country.
Okay.
All these edible oils today are imported from other countries.
Okay.
We look at even production of eggs in Kenya. We eat eggs in this country from Uganda, from South Africa. We are also not having enough milk. So if we empower our people to do local production, and of course check on the cost of inputs. Today, look at fertilizer. Fertilizer alone is going for about 6,100 for 50 kgs. And who will afford that in the village? So if we make the cost of production too high, then it means we are going to make more of our people poor.
These are problems that have been in the country for at least the last 10 years.
I'm
sorry, but I have to ask you this particular, just based on what you're saying today, these are not new problems.
Yeah.
These are issues that have been in this country for a very long time. We're talking about the cost of production being through the roof, so that it is easier for people to import food from Tanzania, import food from Uganda. And the very people who sit in government today, who run your party, who are, aspirants under the party umbrella, indeed, people who sit in government today who are not in your party have an opportunity to do these things and not doing them. What is to guarantee that they will be done come the 10th of August? That is my question. It sounds good to lament on the issue, but how then can Kenyans be guaranteed that these things will actually be done?
That is why I have told you that our economic model is being built on what the people are telling us, what they think should be done. And some of the things that we want to be done because that's what the people are telling us. One of them is to make the environment for production to be very conducive. One, when we make our environment for production very conducive, we'll produce enough food for ourselves and for export. Two, we shall attract companies to come and pitch tent in Kenya. We have been losing companies to Ethiopia because the environment of doing business in Ethiopia has greatly improved. If you are keen, look at your bill of electricity, for example. When you buy an electricity a token of 1,000 shillings, I'm telling you taxes takes about 560 shillings. You end up only having 400 shillings. So more than 50% of what you spend on electricity goes for taxes. If this is it's lowered, and how can it be lowered? It should be lowered by production of more natural gas, which are natural electricity through geothermal production, which I'm told that even we have exploited about 10% alone, 90% still lying outside there. So when you produce cheap electricity, we are able to attract manufacturers because most of them use electricity. We have companies in Kenya now that are using solar because the bills that were being given from Kenya Power way too high. So when we do that, and how are we going to do it? We want to have a serious government that is going to invest in what is going to produce for the country. You know, there are certain investments that you put in and you will not see the outcome in any near future. And we must look at where can we put our shilling that in the next 2-3 years I'll be able to say this shilling has brought in 3 shillings. But when you put a shilling somewhere, after 3 years you're getting a negative, then you are not going anywhere. We must reduce this appetite for borrowing. We still, all of us believe that during Mike Kibaki's regime as the president of this country, our economy improved and actually borrowing went almost to zero. But today, the borrowing is something that everyone's talking about. So we must look at how we can improve the manufacturing sector, how we can improve food production, how we can take control of that which determines how the country is going to run in terms of securing employment for our own people. But if we continue being people who want quick money, you know, many Kenyans want to make quick money. And the process of wanting to make quick money, that's why you will see when you are given a job, for example, I don't want to impute any negative motive about anybody. So what I say is normally is going to be general. When you are given a responsibility to be a director of a company, you are a young man from college.
Yeah.
Within 3-4 years, you're already having wealth which is unexplainable. For me, what I have today, I can explain to you. I have lived taking loans the rest of my life because you cannot, in Kenya, you cannot do anything without getting loans. So if you have not taken loans and you have wealth, where has this wealth come from? That's why you see the prices of essential commodities, the essentials, the prices of inputs that help us to produce is going up because some people want to make quick wealth. We must make sure that the people we put in position in this country are the correct people.
Then many would argue, then the whole lot of people, even people within the UDA party today, who are seeking re-election as members of parliament, who, by the way, we look at as the representatives of the people to then go in there and legislate, then they too should be scrapped off the ballot.
You know that one. Now we have various institutions in this country that are responsible for that. We have EACC, we have
No. Not in terms of the requirements to run, but if what you have just said is going to be a prerequisite, people who then are serious about moving this country forward. The debt ceiling was just raised to 10 trillion with people sitting in parliament today who are members of your party.
The problem that I have, I cannot speak on their behalf because I am not yet a member of parliament. You know these problems that we have are the problem even in our electoral system. Do you know that I'm the one who was elected senator for Kakamega? I don't sit in the Senate.
You want to though?
I don't, but I was elected. The one who sits there was not elected. So these problems that we have in our
PANYAKO, I have to ask. So this person who wasn't elected, how did I take it that you're saying, in your view, you got more votes than this individual.
Exactly.
But somehow
it was taken away. I was told that I had, you know, that time I had a strike that it lasted for 5 months. So I was told, there's no way you can be a senator and you have brought my country.
Everywhere,
you have stopped my country. That's literally what happened. So they took it away on the table. I had won more than 300,000 votes. And the one who is in parliament got less than 100,000 votes. So when you have the wrong people in the right places, you will definitely get the wrong product. Because you cannot go and plant sukuma wiki and expect to harvest maize. So I'll speak myself as PANYAKO. I'll play my role if I'm elected as a member of parliament for Malala. I will do what is right for this country, the way I have done for the nurses. You don't hear noise anymore because I went out there to work for the nurses. I refused all the incentives. I was given a lot of money. Take this money. Forget about these people. You look at your life. You know, in 2017.
You were given a lot of money?
I was given, but I won't tell you by who.
Of money?
I was told, I will not tell you.
There's a difference.
I was offered, not given. I did not take. You know, when you say I was given, you think you was taking the money. I was offered money so that I stop agitating for the nurses. But I looked at what the nurses were going to miss in long term, because like the allowance they wanted me nurses not to have, what we call nursing service allowance, which we brought in 2017. It's 20,000 shillings per month. Today it's supposed to go to 30,000 per month. Somebody's telling you, get this 20 million, go to your campaign, forget about 20,000. I told them, no. Let me not be elected, but let nurses not suffer because of my greed. So I believe I've done a good job as a leader for the nurses. I have led them with open hands, and that is why maybe I've remained poor. I am not very poor, but I'm average. I can't wait.
Averagely poor. That's got to be a new one. I don't think we've heard that one just yet.
Manapanyako has given me a definition.
I'm telling you, that's what you've been suffering from.
No, I've been telling people I'm poor. You've not explained. I'm also averagely poor.
Average poor.
What you're right about, Manapanyako, about the potential that this country has, it's actually true. And about geothermal, in 2019, we were ranked 9th in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we are 3rd.
Yes.
We overtook Iceland, we overtook Italy. Yes, the potential is there. And also, the party you belong to has to be given credit for highlighting issues that for a long time were not given the energy and the time that your party has. You're talking about the downtrodden. You're talking about the need to focus on them. Whether you're talking about the wheelbarrow movement, whether you're talking about bottom-up, they have done. And they've also pointed to the inequalities that exist within the country. Now, step number 1. Step number 2. That one done. Yes. Manapanyako understands this thing very well. Yes, I was doing 1 + 1 and he knew the answer even before I said 1 plus. I was at plus, he said 1.
Yes.
And then he also said 2. So, carry on.
How is the big question? And everybody's saying that, yes, we are saying how we're going to do it.
Yes.
One of the things that we have said, and I hope it will be part of our manifesto when it comes out ultimately, is that we are going to eliminate some of the very expensive loans that Kenyans are taking, especially those who are on the down on the pyramid. For example, we're saying we're going to introduce 200 million in every constituency, where those Kenyans down there can go and borrow and they can pay back the money of the government without any interest. Today, when a young man completes school and the only apparently the only job that's available for them is to become boda writers, they go and get a boda for 150,000 and they'll pay up to 300,000. When they have paid up to 285 and he fell sick he cannot pay, those people will come running like you're a thief and they take the motorbike away. Unfortunately, if you have given a friend and it's on the road, it's working, they can even take it and even cause an accident. So we're saying no. If a young man wants to do boda, it's a business, we cannot refuse it. You take that boda, if you get 150,000, you pay back 150,000. And that's one way of helping. If those mamas group in the village, they want to buy a dairy cow, and they want to take 100,000 shillings because a good dairy cow goes between 80 and 150,000. Of course, there are those that goes even 500,000. But averagely, they want to get a dairy cow for 80,000 shillings.
Right.
They simply go get it from the Constituent Development Fund and get the dairy cow. And then when they start producing milk, we have a shortage of milk in Kenya. We still use milk from Uganda, from South Africa, from Denmark. It comes in as powdered milk. In fact, the shortage of milk in Kenya has made me understand that powdered milk is good.
It's a good thing, I tell you.
Right now, I'm using it.
Very good. On that note, how about we take a refresher, or just take a break, and at now 28 minutes to 9 o'clock, we're talking with SETH PANYAKO, who is the Deputy National Chair, Programs, United Democratic Alliance, and is telling us how exactly these things will be delivered. We haven't heard the how exactly just yet, but we'll come back and continue with that conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Having a conversation with SETH PANYAKO, who is the Deputy National Chair, Programs, UDA. Such an apt person to be in the studio this morning as we ask questions about what could happen if, you get into the seats across the country, and still asking the questions on the how. And I think if there's a dog and there's a bone, it's in Siti Muga today, because he's probably going to stick and ask that question in many forms today in terms of how exactly this is going to happen.
Actually, yes.
But before he gets an opportunity to do that, at least until 9 o'clock, let me ask you, if we see what is happening, and maybe you can then shine some light on that. If it seems as though there are people who have issues within the party right now, I mean, it comes out. How does this then affect what you hope to achieve by bringing the country together, putting money in the hands of people, if at the very core of the alliance there seems to be a problem?
You see, every family has issues. There's no family that is perfect, and that imperfection is what makes us reach where we want to go. Because if you just in a family and everybody's saying yes, then there's a problem. We must have people who look at things from a different point of view. But what's important is that we must remain focused on delivering Kenyans from the problems they have to where we want them, where they want to be. I have said earlier that we have gone around the country through economic forums. And those economic forums gave us an opportunity to hear from what Kenyans have to say about what they want to be done to better their lives across the country. And as a party, when we form government, not if we form government, when we form government, we will take what Kenyans have told us as the pillar through which we shall use to better their lives. For example, the needs of the people of Western Kenya are not the same as the people at the coast. Maybe when we go at the coast, they are telling maybe they want their port back. When you go to Western Kenya, they are telling about sugarcane farming. For example, where I come from in Malala. The common farmer in the village is telling me, my sugarcane has not been harvested for the last 6 months. It's supposed to be harvested at 18 months.
Right.
One way of making sure that this farmer takes her child to school in government, in my constituency government, within the first 30 days, I'll make sure all sugarcane is harvested in Malava, because we have 2 factories. We have 2 mills. And there's no any reason why the people of Malava should be crying that children have been sent home and you have sugarcane in the farm and they can be harvested. So there are certain practical things that can be done immediately to better the lives of our people.
Right.
But of importance is we are going to ensure that we implement what the people are telling us through the economic forums.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does it matter who delivers it? And there's a reason why I'm asking this question. And then is it important to have a united front when it then comes to the deliverables of these things? Because we see in Western Kenya specifically that one of the principles of this alliance is saying, look, why should you have anybody else apart from ANC? Here, Musalia Mudavadi himself. Why should we have anybody else apart from ANC in this region coming in and taking position? Right? Cleophas Malala himself has said many different things. You saying that maybe he should not have been senator, it should have been you. Do you still feel that today? Has he been able to deliver? If you see different voices emerging at this point, what confidence does it then give in the deliverability of these things that you're here telling us about?
I think that's a very good question. That's a very important question. First of all, in terms of what happened in 2017 is what under the bridge.
Okay,
we are
so
now
that's gone. You're fine.
It's gone.
Okay.
I have no business with that. The only thing I was expecting for this young man is to come, talk to me and tell me, look here, brother, let's go ahead, let's work together. I'm still waiting for him to come and ask me for my vote. But that's not important. What's important here is that we must, as if we are going to form government, and when we form government, we must deliver on the promise to our people. If we have told people that we have economic forums, you have given us the views, this is what you want to be done, it must be done. For example, me as a member of parliament, when I get elected, because right now I'm way ahead, and the issue of people, I've looked at the polls and I'm way ahead of the current member of parliament.
Okay.
He's actually number 3 on the polls when you look at them. The polls are showing that I'm leading.
Okay.
Number 2 is the one from Azimio, and number 3 is the current sitting member of parliament, who apparently is also in Azimio. He was supposed to be in Kenya Kwanza, but he did not resign from the previous party, so he's in Azimio, but he's not talking about Azimio.
Okay.
So I am leading the polls today, and I think I'm going to win with a resounding victory. I will be a different member of parliament. I will not agree with my political party just because I am in that political party. I'll agree with that which calls for the common good of our people. If it means fighting craft, I'll be on the forefront. If there is anyone who will believe that when we form government through UDA, craft to be allowed to take precedent against the interest of Kenyan people, then that person will be in the wrong hands, me being a member of parliament.
You know, there's a gentleman who came from that region, not quite your place. He came from Butere then, the late Martin Shikuku.
Yes.
Now, he had a reputation for doing precisely what you're saying.
We are related, by the way.
Oh. So let me not speak ill of his
All right.
relatives. Yes. Now, there's something called the winds of change, yeah?
Yes.
For the longest time, Shikuku was a champion of people's rights. Times changed. And he stood by the very things that he had stood for before, and which were good things. But the people who elect, people who vote, had changed with time, and they didn't quite think that that particular message was what they needed at that particular time. A more physical message had taken root. Physical here doesn't mean lifting weights. No. It is a clinking sound of silver. Now, would you say that the times that we are in require the sort of change that someone like Martin Shikuku represented. Because politicians of his ilk in that particular period were champions of issues. You very rarely heard them personalizing issues and making their politics about individuals and what individuals are and what they're not. It was, this is the problem we have, the government hasn't done this, and this is what we ought to have, this is what we said we would do.
First, I want to thank you for recognizing that United Democratic Alliance have brought a new conversation on the political platform. We have managed to change the narrative in the politics. We are now talking about the issues affecting Kenyans. When you look about everybody, we are no longer talking about where you come from. We are not talking about this region. Initially, we said that we do not want we do not want tribal or personal political parties coming together. But because our competitors were using that to fight that we don't want other people to come, that's when we said, no, let us open, let those people come back. So let people come on the table and let us form one united family. The United Democratic Party changed the narrative. We talk about, as you have rightly said, those things that are affecting our people. We are talking about lifting the economical standard of our people. Initially, when you look at the issue of Martin Shikuku during his era, I could wake up 6 in the morning before I go to school, and I would listen to what used to be called Leo Katika Bunge. And I would listen to Martin Shikuku speak, and I will hear Serone speak, and I will hear this other bishop who was in Eldoret speak from outside, not parliament, and comment on those things from outside, and I'll feel very good.
It's called Muge.
Muge. If I don't hear those three, perhaps my school will not be good on that day. Leo Katika Bunge, I'll not miss it. So today, we those issues are still there. But the approach today, for example, when you go back where I come from, the platform through which I'm campaigning is about the economic of our people of Malava. Those days, when you stood on the you know, they used to campaign together.
Yes.
You will go in a stadium and you'll have 10 people who are contesting, and the DC will be in charge.
Yes, exactly.
And he'll give you time to speak. And if you are able...
Or not.
or not.
Yes.
During those days. And if you are able, you are able to speak eloquently, fast eloquently, you know, those days, I don't know, people look at very, very many things. But among the things I remember they used to like was, if you are able to reduce your opponent to nothing, you win the election. But today, it is not about reducing your opponent. Today is about, what are you going to do for our people? What are we going to do for our people economically? And that's why I've told you my first 30 days in office is to ensure that all sugarcane that is rotting in Malava farms for small-scale farmers is harvested, so that those children that are at home, that are coming to my house every day about 200 in a day, asking for school fees, the parents are able to have the money in their pocket and take the children back to school.
It sounds like a sweet deal. The thing, though,
it is doable.
Right.
We have two mills.
Yes.
We have West Kenya Sugar in the same constituency. We have Butali Sugar. So I cannot comprehend how we are getting sugarcane from other areas, as far as South Nyanza, as far as almost the farthest end of Rift Valley, Trans Nzoia, and yet where these factories are situated, the sugarcane for our farmers is rotting in the farms. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We are not saying that we should not bring sugarcane from outside, but we are saying these factories were brought here. The first reason why they were brought, it is to help the people of Malava. But you cannot have the people of Malava, the children are at home, and you have two factories here, and I'm a member of parliament for Malava. But the bottom-up economic model will be a sham.
But let me ask you this. I mean, how is it then that people who grow sugarcane, the farmers, the small-scale farmers, have their cane rotting in the fields? And yet, as you state, the demand for the cane is there. Why?
I can't explain. That's why I want these people to give me an opportunity as their leader. So that first, I'm not going to be oppressive. People think PANYAKO is oppressive. I will sit down with these two factories. I want to know why they can't harvest this sugarcane. But at the bottom, I will tell them within 30 days, I want to see all the farms clear.
You know, it doesn't make sense either, because you're talking about going as far as South Nyanza to look for cane, which will be a costlier affair.
Very costly.
And yet you have cane literally next door.
And they're not harvesting.
That is a bit difficult to understand.
Something's very interesting.
Yes.
They're not harvesting the cane around the factories. So when we talk about bottom-up economic model...
But what understanding did the factory have with the citizens of your constituency?
You
Is
see-
there any understanding?
You see, there isn't, because when the law of Sugar Act was changed, the powers of the farmers was removed, because the outcross companies were removed. So these people will do what they want. Maybe they have competition outside there and they want to retain those farms. So they feel like, let us bring, no one will come to harvest from this area. Let us bring from outside there so that we fight our competitors at the expense of the people, the small scale farmers around the source factories.
The two companies that you mentioned, are they private? Or
They are private. We don't have, unfortunately, the only companies we had which were not private, Mumias and Zoya. And Zoya is going down. I don't know whether it has stopped, almost gone down. Mumias stopped long time ago. They're not functioning. So we have been left in the hands of the private the millers. And unfortunately, the law that protects the farmers was amended so that the miller was given all the powers. Initially we have outcross company, which the farmers, through that outcross company, the farmers will engage the millers, and the farmers will also have what you call an additional value, because the farmer was in charge of the transport, and that transport at the end of the, if you have supplied your sugarcane, you become a part of that company. So at the end of the year, when profits are made, and you get something. Today,
the
nothing.
farmer had a say in what happened.
Exactly.
in
Today, the
factory,
farmer
yes.
has no say.
Okay. I mean, we're looking at a micro level in terms of what then you would be able to do as a
Exactly.
leader should you be elected when it then comes to the 9th of August. But if we're going to look now macro and say what is happening countrywide with this party that is saying that it wants to deliver certain things, there seems to be a few cracks here and there. And again, I'm going to go to my question, which unfortunately, Seth, you didn't answer. The United Front that previously you seem to have been delivering seems to have some cracks in it. Now, the optics for the rest of the country are as important as the reality. So does it say anything then about what is really going on in the inner rooms, as we would say?
There's nothing like political naivety in this country.
People, you'd be surprised.
There's no political naivety. People should not sit down there and expect to be given anything on silver platter. I have just told you from where I come from. I was trying to answer that question, but not directly. I was told you I am from United Democratic Alliance Party. In Malava constituency, I can tell you where I come from. It is United Democratic Party that's going to carry the day. So it's not an issue of someone telling me that because I come from Western Kenya, we should have ANC or we should have Fort Kenya. We want to build national political parties, a party that brings all Kenyans together, and not a party that's going to be for my father, for my child, briefcase parties. In trade union, we call them yellow trade unions. We don't want yellow political parties. We want a party that resonates across the country, so that we can have a united country free of election violence that have always pulled this country back. But when you have these tribal parties or family political parties, you are not going to move this country forward. I myself, when I was joining United Democratic Alliance Party, I had an opportunity. I could join Fort Kenya. I could have joined the ANC. I could have joined Labour Party of Kenya. I would have joined Maendeleo. There's another one for Hamis Mukanda Gold. I think Maendeleo, it's party, something like that. But I looked at a party that has a national outlook, because I'm a national leader. First, that's where I begin from.
Yes.
I am a national leader. I lead nurses across the country. When you go to Turkana, you find a strong office of my union there. All the 47 county governments. So on what basis will I now say I want to join a political party that comes from my place? That's not where we belong. We want a political party that brings all Kenyans together, that listens to all Kenyans from all walks of life. And when we draw the national agenda, we draw the national agenda in respect of what all Kenyans want. But if you have a political party, for example, you've had, and I don't want to say that, I am becoming very uncomfortable. I will say this without fear of contradiction, because I'm a Kenyan and I don't mind. I have my decision and I stand by it. I'm becoming very much uncomfortable when I hear that southern people have been promised this in government.
But they have.
No, I'm saying they have, but I'm very uncomfortable.
You don't
with it.
like
Why?
it, yes.
I don't like it.
Why?
I don't like it. We want.
But isn't that the reason? But I mean, let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool ourselves, Seth. That's the reason why people are joining these alliances and these parties in the
That's
first place.
not why I joined UDA.
Because of the promise of what will be given to
I'm a
them.
national leader. Are you getting the point? I'm a national leader already. That's my background. So I get so frustrated when I hear that certain people we have bought 46 communities in Kenya. So when we have about 3-4 communities being promised things, what about the rest of the communities? I believe that Kenyan, we must move together as Kenyan.
Okay.
But the idea of isolating about less than 5 communities and allocating them government, what are we going to do with these other communities? We want to develop this country uniformly so that even that one who comes from a minority, a minute clan or community somewhere like the Okeki, like the rest, they should feel like they're part of this country. So I'm very uncomfortable because we will soon balkanize this country. We are not going to have a united country, but we are going to have a country where you will be saying, if I have to get this, if I'm for example, I come from one of the largest tribes in Kenya, of course, the Luhya community. I'll be saying, since I come from a large community and the Kikuyu will be saying the same and the Kalenjin will be saying the same, we want to get everything in government, uniform government. Who will be the one who will stand for the minority? Who will stand for the Somalis? Who will stand for the Swahilis, who are looked as minority here? Who will stand for the Okieks? Who will stand for the Subas in Nyanza? I'm becoming so difficult to comprehend this. At the same time, I'm saying some people are saying they have done very well. If you become a president, for example, today, and or you become a prime minister, we are having the chief minister is just like a prime minister.
Yes.
And you are saying you come from, for example, Western, and you promise the people of Western certain things. Are you going to serve the people of Western, or will serve the whole country?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? Are you serving the whole country when you come into the position that you're seeking as the member of parliament for Malala? Will you be serving the people of Malala, or will you be serving the people of Kenya?
When you become a member of parliament and you go to
you're
parliament,
representing your constituency.
I'm representing my constituency, but when I make laws, I'm making laws for the whole
country. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are certain issues. So the way you ask the first question, that go to deliverables, those minute things that are on the ground that will affect the lives of Kenyans, is when I brought the issue, an example of sugarcane farming.
You know, one of the things, if you're going to talk about sugarcane farming, I also happen to come from a sugarcane growing area.
Yes.
Come from Moroni.
Yes.
But you will look at the 2019 sugar bill that sought to turn around the 2013 repealing of what had previously been, what you mentioned as powers being removed from the farmers and Kenya Sugar Board and being given. Now, if you're going to be in parliament, one of the wars that you're going to be fighting is with your CSs. Because the wars that we speak about, yes, there are blames that we are pushing to parliament, especially this particular parliament, but there are things you're pushing to whoever is the CS or the PSs, because those people have real power. I'm saying this because every war we have, whether it is sugar wars, coffee wars, tea, whatever issue we have, they aren't issues that came by on their own. Somebody brought them about. And there became a problem because the interest of the people was removed away.
Yes.
And what they then put in law or through amendments was the interest of a few people. Now, as a member of parliament, how do you expect, you a lone wolf, how do you expect to be able to circumvent? Because it's a tide that we've seen in the country, and it's a tide that is ongoing.
You know, as a trade unionist, one of the strength that we have is ability to negotiate and ability to bring people together. I'll use that skill to ensure that I convince many members of parliament to see the problems facing Kenyans in general, because I have said from the beginning that I'm a national leader and I want to look at issues on a national level.
On a national level.
I will convince them to look at the issues affecting Kenyans, and we come together and offer practical solutions. For example, the issue I've raised about cabinet secretaries who are very powerful, and they're actually secretaries to the president. They are not ministers the way we used to know. You know, they are answerable to the president. They are not answerable to the people. But initially, when you had cabinet ministers, they were answerable to the appointing authority and they were answerable to the people. Because when you are a minister and we have elected you as a member of parliament, when you come in the village and you're in charge of health and there is no medicine in the hospital,
clinics, yes.
You know, a village will just stand up and get a microphone and tell you, you have failed us. There's no medicine in the hospitals. But today, when you ask, he will tell you, did you appoint me? He walks away. So if you were to ask me, if there are areas that I strongly believe that we must open a proper conversation is whether Africa is ready for a system that looks like that for America. Because what we adopted here is American system, where you have cabinet secretaries. They are called secretaries, who are appointed by the president. No, that's a disciplined country. It's a developed country. Here in Africa, when I give you a responsibility or a job to do, I'm expecting you to do the way I want you to do it, not the way the law dictates. So for us in Kenya, we have not reached that stage where we can have independence of institutions. So the best way for us is to go back to have ministers who are elected.
All right.
Who are answerable to two centers of power. The people and the appointing authority.
SETH PANYAKO, thank you for joining us this morning. Many, many more conversations to be had. I mean, there's a million other questions that we could have asked you as well, but time does not allow. Thank you for being in the hot seat this morning. Hopefully we can engage with you again in the near future.